In 2005, when the city of New Orleans was in a dire state of emergency from Hurricane Katrina and its aftermath, thousands of National Guard members were sent there to help with rescue and relief at the request of the state's governor at the time. And while people were really happy to get federal help, it was also obviously something new and scary to have military troops on their streets. And there was this memorable scene captured in Spike Lee's documentary about Katrina, where the lieutenant general in charge of the military efforts on the ground told his troops to make sure to put their weapons down.
Weapons down! Weapons down, damn it! Put those damn weapons down! I'm gonna play you again, goddammit! Get those goddamn weapons down!
That man, the now retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore, is going to join me in a moment. But the important point here is here was a military leader who understood the proper role of America's armed forces. They are not there to police civilians. That's not what the U.S. military does. They are there to protect and to help them. The difference now is that people like Lieutenant General Russell Honore have been purged from a lot of the upper ranks so that Donald Trump can try to convert the military into a partisan tool, mobilizing the National Guard and even the Marines against peaceful protesters. This is all being overseen by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, a loyalist, former weekend morning cable news host, who has less qualifications for his current job than anyone with that title in decades, possibly ever. Retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore is the former commander of Joint Task Force Katrina, which was responsible for coordinating military relief efforts after the hurricane in 2005, and he joins me now. Lieutenant General, it's great to have you on, and you have a unique perspective to share here as someone who had that experience in New Orleans. What are your concerns, worries? What are you thinking about this deployment of the National Guard over the governor's objections and the deployment of 700 U.S. Marines to Los Angeles?
I think it's not normal. Initially, it didn't look illegal because they were going to protect federal property, but the protocols were not followed. I mean, you're going to mobilize the governor's National Guard. The first person you speak to is the governor, and you make sure he's got an alignment with that. If you're going to mobilize them in Title X to send them overseas, or if there was a discussion with the governor and encourage the governor for the governor to mobilize the National Guard, well, it would have been a better way to do this. But the fact that the president jumped the gun on the governor on Saturday when he reached into California without consultation with the governor, by all reports, and mobilized 2,000 of his National Guard. Then simultaneously, the Pentagon put 700 Marines, initially 500 Marines, on prepared to deploy order for Pendleton. And none of that made sense because the Marines, I know that it didn't have the equipment and they were not trained to do this type of civil disturbance. They are trained to do direct combat, run on beaches and run uphill and do it very well. But this is not a primary mission, whereas the National Guard are required, the infantry brigades, to have annual training on civil disturbance. Mm-hmm. But when he mobilized 2,000, I knew damn well they didn't have 2,000 kits of riot control equipment because the Guard managed that equipment and they sent it around as needed to the different states. So I think the president jumped the gun, and as opposed to de-escalating, I think it may have escalated the events. And the California Police Department, which consists of 117,000 police in California, I think has its situation under control.
Yeah, that point you said about training strikes me as important. We were showing that B-roll, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to, if someone in the control room correctly or I'm wrong, I think that B-roll was showing some of those U.S. Marines who are now being trained in, civil disturbance work. This reporting from NBC News says the deployment is fueling concern the Marines have not been properly trained for interacting with civilians, including children, during potentially tense law enforcement operations. And to my understanding, they actually aren't deployed out there yet, which sort of raises the point of, is it all worth the $134 million and a bunch of National Guardsmen who may not get paid, as far as we can tell, according to early reporting? Is this all worth it to be using the military in this way?
Well, first of all, the Guard will get paid. And number two, the Marines, the way we do it in the Army, if you mobilize a brigade and they need training, we send a detachment from the military police school for Lindenwood, and they go out and they do a quick training regiment for the troops in counter-protest activities. I assume that's who the Marines lean to come out and bring a attack team out to help them. But again, they're well organized and get the resource. But the experts in America on proud of protests is the big police departments like Los Angeles, New York. They're the experts on counter-protest operations. So I wish them well.
That footage was National Guard. I should just make a quick correction on this. I want to ask you also about the scene that we saw at Fort Bragg, I believe it was yesterday, in which the president appearing before a bunch of uniformed soldiers. You know, we have subsequent reporting that they screened those soldiers to make sure that they agreed with the president politically. They told people that didn't agree with him to make sure they were not there, also for fitness level. And the president gave a very partisan speech. You've got, you know, active duty uniformed soldiers booing the mayor of California. What did you think of that scene?
Not much. I was embarrassed. It was an inappropriate speech. And in my 37 years in uniform, I had never seen some SHIT like this happen in real life. And it happened on live TV with the biggest voice in America, the most powerful man in the world, standing before troops and taking advantage of their emotions and getting them fired up to be a cheerleader for them. And I think the Army, this will be a dark day in the Army. The president has done two things this week. He's used our military in the abusive way by standing in front of those young troops and egging them on. He's deployed troops over the weekend to go do one of the missions nobody in the military want to do, which is civil disservice. Nobody in the uniform like to go out and put guns toward looking at our own citizens. And the second thing he's done, the most unpopular thing with soldiers, he's generated this big-ass parade in Washington, D.C. The last mission any soldier want to do is go spend 3 or 4 days getting ready for and going to a parade where they're sleeping in warehouses and on the floors of office buildings in D.C. That is not a nice move to celebrate the 250th birthday to our Army. And oh, by the way, happy birthday, Army.
Retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore, thank you very much for your time tonight, sir.
God bless America. God bless our troops. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, sir.